car, SUV, or truck. Yes.
Hello and welcome to the Frontier Motor Show. My name is Ivan Streckel, owner of Frontier Motors, and for the next half an hour we're going to be talking about cars, the automobile industry, what's new, what's improved, what's going on a little bit throughout Pensacola in the car industry, and also a little bit about what's going on at Frontier Motors. Now, don't turn a channel just because you're not interested in a car, because you never know. Maybe you'll run into someone that's going to ask you today, hey, if I need a nice, good used car, where do I go? And you'll never know, when somebody runs that red light and they T-bone you, or perhaps a hurricane or a flood comes up out of nowhere, and next thing you know, you're in the market for a vehicle. So when you are in the market for the vehicle, one of the things that we talk about on this show is there is a dealership in Pensacola that's been here for 23, going on 24 years, that their number one thing that they talk about is that we give free advice on how to buy a car, where to buy a car. It's not always necessarily at Frontier Motors. If somebody else has a good deal, we'll share that information with you. But the main thing is about the free advice. And I guess obviously one of the things would be if the car you're looking at is a good car, is it a mediocre car, is it a bad car, based on our reputation or based on our experience, I should say. And also, of course, most importantly, what should you pay for that particular car? And I'm not talking about book values. You don't need Frontier Motors to get a book value on a car. You can Google used car prices and you'll get a Edmunds, you'll get a Kelley Blue Book, you'll get a NEDA Consumer's Guide version. What we do is a little bit different than that. We go more based on reality. And when I say reality, it's all based on what we can sell a car for, make a profit, but yet beat the competition. And that's where we give you a price on. So let's say, for example, the book value on a 2017 Mercedes is $35,000, according to your banker or according to the research you've done online, and I can buy that car at the auction for $28,000. I might quote you a price of $30,000 or $31,000 on that car because I'm still making a profit. I can still make sure that the oil's changed and that I've got enough money to pay for the shipping to get the vehicle back on the lot and to get it detailed. And that's still going to be $3,000 or $4,000 under book value in this particular case. And that's why you don't want to use the books. You want to use reality. And how do you get the reality? You call or stop in at Frontier Motors. Again, we were 230 Beverly Park. We've been there for going on, we started in 96, so we're going 23 years now, on 24. And we've really made a reputation in the Pensacola area as far as the go-to dealership when you are in need of advice, whether it's buying or selling. And a lot of people do the Dave Ramsey thing. Matter of fact, Dave Ramsey is one of our sponsors, and or actually I'm one of his sponsors. But I bring one of his commercials with us, and he is he only sponsors one dealership in a metro area. And in this area, in Pensacola, it happened to be Frontier Motors. And let's just listen to what he says before I go on about him.
Hey, Dave Ramsey here. When you need a quality pre-owned vehicle, I'm happy to be recommending a dealer that still does it the old-fashioned way, where relationship is formed from face-to-face contact, where a handshake still means something. For 22 years, my friends at Frontier Motors have been helping the Pensacola community with their transportation needs, but they do so much more. They are the go-to dealer for free advice, free appraisals, free Carfax reports, and free total loss and diminished value reports. Any car buying questions, see Frontier Motors. 70% of their customers are repeat or referrals. It's unheard of in the used car industry. I'm talking no pushy salesman, no pressure selling, always an out-the-door price in writing, and no mausoleum, high overhead showroom. Just 400 of the nicest used cars you'll ever see. Check out Frontier Motors, and don't forget to tell them Dave Ramsey sent you.
And we're actually down to about 320 cars. And that leads me to what I was saying before Dave came on, is that we're the go-to dealer for free advice, but also not just to buy a car from, but to sell a car. And a lot of people, if you listen to Dave Ramsey's show, one of the things he talks about doing is getting out of debt. Well, how do you get out of debt? We're going to give you a buy bid on that car. And that buy bid is we'll write you a check. So let's just say hypothetically that the value of the vehicle is $20,000 to us. and you owe $18,000 on it, well, then what we would do is write you a check. We would pay off the bank $18,000, and we would write you a check for $2,000. And you can use that $2,000 if you need to replace that car. Go on Craigslist or go to Frontier Motors and see if we've got a car that runs, that's in decent shape, that's decent transportation for $2,000. And that's how you get out of debt. And that's one of the reasons that Dave Ramsey will only sponsor a used car independent dealer, not new car, because of the depreciation. Like you said, new cars depreciate, according to Consumers Report, average new car depreciates 27% in the first year. That's a lot of money. That's crazy. And just imagine if it's a $100,000 car and it depreciates $27,000 in the first year alone. Boy, why not buy that car while it's half a year or 1 year old? Dave Ramsey also talked about that Frontier Motors does free Carfax reports. Almost everybody knows what a Carfax report is, and I don't know too many people that'll buy a used car without doing a Carfax report on it. Well, Carfax reports are over $40 a piece. At Frontier Motors, we pay one price and I can run as many as I want. And so we advertise that for private individuals. I don't do this for other dealerships, but for private individuals, I will run a free Carfax report for you. Now, let's say you found a car at a used car dealer that doesn't subscribe to Carfax. That's okay. Call us up with the ID number. And what we'll do is we'll run the Carfax report for free. And the neat thing about our program through Carfax is it tells us what the average selling price in our area is for that particular car. So if the car comes back and it says the average selling price is $20,000 and the guy's asking $23,000, well, you can use that information to get that price negotiated down to what it would be either through the Carfax or through reality. That's one of the things that I do is I will double check that report to make sure the value on that report is the correct price. Because sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's like book values. Because sometimes they don't take reality, they take a book value. Well, if that book value is high or low, you definitely want to call Frontier Motors to make sure that you're not paying too much and also that you're not passing on a vehicle because of the book value. Prime example I would use is a Jeep Wrangler. If you're looking at a 15-year-old Jeep Wrangler, well, the book value is almost nothing because the books depreciate the vehicle every year. They come out every year. Actually, the books come out every month. But over the course of a year, if you're going down 27%, you can just imagine, even though throughout the years that value changes, the percentage goes down, but it still goes down a little bit every year. So after a while, a car's worthless. Well, guess what? A 15-year-old Wrangler that's in decent condition might be still selling for $9,000 or $10,000, but the book value might say it's worth $4,000. So again, that's why you call Frontier Motors to get an idea of what reality is. A little bit about what's going on in the car industry. Last year, California governor said that he's got a goal, and the goal is going to be, and I don't know why he's doing a 10-year goal, because he's not going to be the governor in 10 years, but the goal in California, he says they're going to mandate that they can't sell gasoline-powered vehicles by 2030 anymore. Well, I just saw in my automotive news that Japan is also now mulling that same program over. They're talking about banning the sale of gasoline-powered cars in Japan by 2030. Only electric or hybrid vehicles. Now, they haven't passed that yet, and neither has California, but it's very interesting what's going on. That doesn't mean you can't drive a gasoline-powered car there. You just can't buy one there. Leave it to California, leave it to Japan. Lexus and Toyota, this is the first time I've ever seen this, and I've been in the car business since I was 15 years old, are planning on redesigning and freshening 25 models by 2016. In 16 months, not by 2016, in 16 months. So they're talking about in a year and a half, they're going to redo pretty much the whole lineup and add a whole bunch of extra cars. That is unheard of, folks. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Toyota and what happens with Lexus. And of course, a lot of times I'll talk about Toyota and Lexus on the show here because they're some of my favorite vehicles to sell. And one reason is because according to Consumers Reports, it's always one of the top rated cars. And Lexus, for example, in 2018, and this is overall. This is not just reliability. Reliability, they're always number one and number two. They have been for years and years. But Lexus was number 3 and Toyota was number 10 out of the first 34 rated. So now, when I say best brand overall, Genesis was actually number one, Audi was number two, BMW, and then Lexus. But they're not talking about reliability only. That's a whole separate study. They're talking about safety features, standard safety features, customer satisfaction, drivability, ease of use, and of course reliability. They put all that together and they come up with the best brands. So one of the things that Toyota and Lexus are doing is all new vehicles in 16 months. That's pretty interesting. Now, Consumer Reports also last month came out with they came out with their year-end book, which I love, because it tells you the standout models by category. In other words, the best models by category. What's a category? A category would be subcompact, compact, mid-size, full-size, small truck, medium truck. That's a category. But they say that the best subcompact, which is a small car, is a Honda Fit and the Toyota Yaris, which is interesting, but because both of those have been discontinued. And in last month's show, I talked about what does discontinued mean to you if you own that vehicle. It pretty much doesn't mean nothing. People always worry about if a vehicle is discontinued, does it kill the resale value of a vehicle? And it does not. I don't know if you remember years ago when Oldsmobile was discontinued, we were selling cars back then, and the value of a used Oldsmobile actually went up. Because a lot of people wanted that big old body style. Remember that old Oldsmobile Country Squire, whatever that thing was called, that big wagon? Well, the value of those vehicles went up because I had people call me and say, hey, I want the last one you can find. I want it used so I can save money, but I want the last one. So the Honda Fit and the Yaris is the best subcompact. They've both been discontinued. The best overall compact is a Subaru Impreza. Most of the Subarus right now, folks, are highly rated, and I'm happy that we have a local Subaru dealer. Billy Anderson is our local Subaru dealer, and I always urge people that if you're going to buy brand new, buy locally. You might want to shop out of town. Get your best price, so to speak. Take that price to the local dealer. Make sure you go to the general manager or the sales manager. Not to say that you shouldn't go through a salesperson, but make sure that the manager doesn't pass on the deal. The cars cost the same no matter where you go. So there shouldn't be a difference in the bottom line pricing unless there is a trade-in. And when there is a trade-in, you stop in at Frontier Motors first and you get that second opinion. Actually, in this case, it would be the first opinion if you stop by us first. And we will tell you what the wholesale value of that car should be. In other words, go make your best possible deal. If it happens to be a Subaru, if you're going to buy a brand new Subaru, go to Anderson Subaru, get your best possible deal, and then you'll have that appraisal in your back pocket. And a lot of times, because we are an independent dealer, now what that means is we sell every make and model. A lot of times we might have a higher appraisal than the legal dealer you're dealing with. I had this happen. I talk about this almost every time we do a show because it happened to be Lexus, one of my favorite cars, and a customer went over to the Lexus Mobile, and my appraisal on their used Lexus was higher than their appraisal. Now, why would that be? I'm not a Lexus dealer. Why would I appraise the used trade-in higher than the dealer you're dealing with? Well, one reason is because the used car manager had 13 of the same cars on the lot that our customer happened to be trading in. So they weren't excited about that 14th. This happened to be an ES350, which is their flagship midsize sedan. When I say flagship, it means they sell the most of them. And they weren't interested in that car. So he got a low appraisal. And that's why you always want to get that first opinion from Frontier Motors if you're going to buy a brand new car. The other thing we can do for you also, while you're at Frontier Motors, we have the new car cost guides that we subscribe to, which gives us the invoice of any new car out there. Now, wouldn't it be nice to know what the dealer paid for a particular new car? It saves you a lot of time, number one, by not making ridiculous offers. Sometimes you'll find that the markup on the new cars are very small, which means there's not a lot of margin. And that's why you'll also find that a lot of new car dealerships are actually taking their MSRP, which is the suggested list price from the manufacturer, and they're marking them up. In other words, they put a little addendum sticker next to that. I said that the other day up in Car City. I took my bicycle on Sunday because most dealers are closed on Sunday, and I went car shopping on Sunday, and I was surprised that almost half the new car dealers I visited had an addendum sticker on it. And most of them was either additional markup or they gave you something for your money. One dealer had a $12.95 package on it, and that was their ceramic coating. If you've ever heard of that, it's like a plastic coating they put on the hood in the front of the car so the bugs don't chew it up. And then they give you they used to give you rust proofing. They don't do that anymore, but they give you the leather treatment or the fabric treatment, and then they give you a 3-year warranty with that, and they mark it up to $1,295. One dealer was obnoxious enough just to put dealer markup $1,995. So what they were doing is they're marking all their cars up basically $2,000. And the reason they do this, folks, is so they can discount the car. Because what's the first thing you ask a new car dealer when you go to the dealership, other than which car you want to buy? Obviously, the car is more important than the pricing, because you can see the pricing on the window sticker of the new car. But the first thing out of your mouth after you drive the car and after you find out you like the car is, what's the best you can do? Well, what does that mean? What's the best you can do? In my mind, it means how much can you discount that car off of your asking price? Is it $100? Is it $500? Is it $5,000? So that's the question you ask. Well, if they don't mark the car up, in some cases these days, they can't give you a discount. And what does that mean to you? Well, it's negative. They're not dealing on the car, and I'm walking out of here. So what they do is they increase the price of the car so they can decrease the price of the car so they can still sell it and make some money. Some of these cars and the new car cost guides that we have at Frontier will tell us, these guides will tell us the markup percentage. Sometimes it's as little as 2 and 3%. Now, how do you stay in business if you make 3%? If it's a $20,000 car, you're talking about $600. How does a dealer stay in business? Well, the way they stay in business is by putting additional markup on the vehicle, by devaluing your trade-in. That's what we were talking about before. When I say devalue, let's say that the vehicle has a wholesale value of $10,000 and they end up giving you $7,500 for the car. And then you negotiate a little bit. Next thing you know, they're giving you $9,000 for the car and they're still making an extra $1,000. And that's why, again, I go back to what I said before, that if you're going to go to a new car dealer or a used car dealer for that matter, stop in at Frontier Motors and let us give you a buy bid on that car. And shouldn't the dealer you're doing business with give you even more than that? If you're spending $30,000 with a dealer, actually the average price of a new car last year was almost $36,000. So if the average price of a car is $36,000, you're spending that with that dealer. If I'm appraising the car for $10,000, shouldn't they give you more because you're doing business with them? I always thought they should, even if it's only $1,000 or $1,500. But I would think that they would give you an incentive to do business with them. And we do the same thing. If you're going to be replacing a car, we work on the trade-in value of that vehicle, because if you're taking one off of our shelf and you're giving us one, we're going to compensate you for that fact. Now, a couple of other things to talk about is that we also do consignments. So if you've got a car and you don't want to wholesale the car, you can bring it to Frontier Motors and we will give you a clean wholesale bid. Let's say that bid hypothetically is $20,000. Matter of fact, one of our customers called us yesterday. He had a 14 Tahoe LTZ that he wants to know if I would be willing to sell for him. And I said, yes. And what I can do a couple things for you. Number one, I can tell you what I'll just write you a check for. You stop in within 15 minutes. Let's just say the figure is $20,000. The second figure I'll give you is a consignment figure. The consignment figure is normally going to be a little bit more because I'm not tying up my cash. That I don't charge more for that car to the next owner. I just make less money on it. So let's say if the car is $20,000 and I'm thinking, well, I can sell that car for $23,000. In this particular case, I might give you $21,000 or $21,500 on consignment. It's still only going to be worth $23,000, but I'll just end up making less money on it, which is okay with me, because to me, making a little bit is better than nothing at all. And the third thing I can tell you is how to market that car yourself, where you should advertise the car, what you should do to get the car ready for sale, what you can skimp on and what you can't skimp on, and also what that car should bring on the open market. And like I said before, most customers, one of the things I do want to say is that I am happy that a lot of dealerships, especially some of the auto groups, have gone to one price selling. It makes my job a lot easier because all I have to do is beat their price by a little bit, or if I'm not beating their price, is have a nicer conditioned car. And I'll give you an example. CarMax is one of them. CarMax is one of the largest sellers, of used cars in the nation. We have a new CarMax dealer that opened up a couple years ago right on Highway 29, and whatever is on their website, for example, is what you pay for the car. Sonic is the same way. Sonic has one price selling, unless they change it in the last couple of months, where they give you a price on that vehicle, and that's the price. There's no dealing on the car, which some people really like that. You know, they talk about the ease of purchasing a car. Some people really don't like that, especially if they want the car, but they want a better deal. They want you to throw something in. They want you to maybe give them more money for their trade-in. Some of these auto groups don't even do their own appraisals. They walk around the car, they take pictures, they send them to the headquarters in Atlanta or in Birmingham, and they come back and they give you an appraisal on the car. They're not even driving the car. They're not even smelling the car. Your car could be absolutely perfect. Pictures can't tell that, and a lot of times you will get a lower appraisal because they're not appraising the car here. We appraise our cars on site. I've got 3 appraisers there all times. Why do I have 3? Most dealerships only have 1. Well, the reason I have 3 is so we can get you in and out of there quick. Especially if you want to go car shopping. If you're taking it off in the afternoon, you want to go hit 4 or 5 dealers, you can come to Frontier Motors. We can appraise your car. We can give you a bottom line price in writing, and you can leave if you want to shop around. When we give you a bottom line price in writing, we do a lot of research in a short period of time to make sure we've got the best deal. Because obviously, if you're going to go shopping, we want you to come back to us. How do we do that? Well, number one, we give you a good product presentation by showing you the features of our car. And on a used car, sometimes that's not the easiest thing to do because you don't know about hidden features. You don't know if it has stability control. You don't know if it's got all-wheel drive. Some of these things you can't see by just looking at the car. So we are able to run the window sticker of used cars to know exactly each feature on our car, because one feature might put you over the edge on buying our car than the competition's car. And a lot of times it comes down to not luxury features like a sunroof or leather interior. It comes into hidden features like safety. You know, if a car's got automatic stopping, if it's got blind spot, if it has pedestrian detection, if it's got the backup camera, which, by the way, since 2018, the government mandated every car sold in the U.S. has to have a backup camera. But before then, it was an option. So you could buy a 16 or a 17 model without backup camera. So these are features that sometimes will put a customer over the edge of making a purchasing decision, and that doesn't always have to do with the price. Sometimes our price can actually be higher than the competition based on the number one thing that I feel would warrant higher price, and that is not even mileage or equipment. It has to do with the condition of the car. If you go at the car dealership's lot and they have a great price on their car, but the car is just a crappy old dinged up car, even though it might be a 2019 or 20 model, if it's been abused for 6 months, and it looks like, you know, when we talk about a car that's been abused, a car that's never been washed, the oil's never been changed on it, it's got dings and scratches all around, it smells on the inside like smoke. Those are things that I consider a deal breaker in most of my customers' minds. And as a matter of fact, I won't buy those cars at the auction because those cars, to me, have to be reconditioned. I don't want to buy a car that I've got to do a lot of reconditioning on. I want to buy a car that has been taken care of since the day it was brand new. And that is not just accidents. You know, people do the Carfax report. I want to see if the car's been in an accident. Well, if the car's been in a minor fender bender, the value of the car is not diminished. Even if the car has been in an accident, we don't tell you don't buy the car. The only thing we say is make sure that you get the car inspected by a body shop. Not so much a mechanic, but by a body shop. And also make sure that the price of the car has diminished value. And that's one of the things that we talk about that Frontier Motors offers is diminished value in writing. Now, what's that? Diminished value is what happens to a car, especially a newer type car, that's been in a moderate or major accident. And if that happens where somebody runs into your car, well, guess what happens? The Carfax report now shows accident reported. Sometimes it'll even say major accident. The car had to be towed from the scene. Well, what does that do to the resale value of the car? Well, it tanks it. It brings it down. Now, how much does it bring it down? Well, that is an opinion that we will give you at Frontier Motors, and we'll put that opinion in writing. And that opinion you can take to the other person's insurance company and say, hey, my value, according to Frontier Motors, has now been compromised by $2,000, $3,000, or even more, depending on the car. Obviously, the more expensive the car, the higher the diminished value is going to be. And again, it is an opinion. It is not a percentage that we use on every car. Sometimes if it's minor or if the car is an older car, let's say the car is 15 years old and you've been in a major accident and they fixed the car properly, there's not going to be a lot of diminished value because the car doesn't have that much value anyways. Or let's say you go on the opposite. You're driving a 2020 brand new Stingray Corvette and you've got a $100,000 car that has $50,000 worth of damage, and they don't total the car. Sometimes you have to have up to 90% damage on that car before they total it. So they're going to fix it for you. Well, number one, what's your attitude about that? Most people say, I don't want my car fixed. I just want a brand new car. Somebody ran into me. So that is what we call diminished value. And also, if that car is totaled, let's talk about replacement value. These are all things that we talk about with all of our customers at no charge, whether you're buying a car from us or not. You could be buying a brand new car down the road. You could be buying a used car down the road. Our job is to give you the proper information to make the right decision. So if we send you down to that other used car dealer that you found a car at, we say, hey, the Carfax report is good. Looks like a one-owner car. Get the car inspected. The price is fair. You know, it might not be the best, but it's fair. So I wouldn't talk you out of it. Now, why do we do that? We do that because we know that that's not the last car you're ever going to buy. So if we help you get a deal, especially if we help you negotiate a lower price at the other dealer, because maybe they're asking a little more than what we can sell you that car for, but maybe we don't have the car sitting right there. We'll say, go back and make them an offer. Frontier Motors can find me this car for $20,000. You're asking $22,000. If you sell it for $20,000, I'll take it. And if you get that deal, guess who you're going to recommend? You're going to recommend the guy that helped you get the deal. And that's what we built our reputation on for the last 23 years, is by telling people, hey, that's a good deal. Or we'll tell them, we'll save them and say, hey, that's not a good deal. You're paying way too much. We show you how we came up with those figures. We're not here to screw up the other person's deal. We're just here to make sure you get a good deal, so you will recommend us in the future. And if we tell you to buy the car and it's the wrong information, you're not going to come back to us. And that's what the whole thing's about. We've only got a couple of minutes left, folks, and we want to let you know that this is being recorded right now. If you're watching this on Blab TV or on satellite or cable, you can also recommend this show to friends by going on YouTube, just type in Frontier Motors, and also going on our Facebook page, and this will be on our Facebook page also. So that way, if you've got somebody that happens to be in the market for a car, you can let them know a little bit about Frontier Motors and some of the things that we offer. Obviously, our whole goal when we do this show is not only to get you a good deal, but to sell a car in the future. It doesn't have to be now, but it can be in the future. So we're going to help you get a good deal on a car, whether it's at a new car dealer, another used car dealer, a friend or relative, maybe somebody at work. We're going to tell you if it's a good deal. We're going to tell you if it's a bad deal. We're going to run that Carfax report, which is over $40 at no charge to you. We'll make a copy of it. We can email it to you, or we can just tell you on the phone what it says. It's a good car, or maybe the car's got some issues. So these are things that we provide. Check us out on frontiermotorsinc.com. We've got 320 about cars in stock, 31 detail photographs. They all have pricing. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Auf Wiedersehen.
Looking for the best car, SUV, or truck? Guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we've got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.